Okay, let's see how we do now. We're ready to roll out the dough. I have some sugar that I'm going to sprinkle on top of the dough, a little milk that I'm going to brush on the top of the dough before I put the sugar on. I have my 2 discs ready to go, and I have, I think I'm going to get some more, try to get some more light in here. A knife, a spatula, my rolling pin, my pie plate, and some extra flour. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle some of this flour on the counter. Probably going to need quite a bit of flour. And I've got one of my discs. I'm going to cover both sides with flour. And then give myself some room. I'm going to just begin by pressing in the middle. Flip it over. You're going from the center out. The butter, you want to keep this chilled so your crust ends up being nice and flaky. So the butter is like in little pockets in the dough. And we cut that flour, or we cut the butter in. So there's lots of little pieces of butter in there, which throughout your dough should make it nice and flaky. Okay, I'm just coming out, wanting to make it bigger, coming out to the edges. And if there's a little crack, I can just roll that together with my rolling pin. Try to get a circle. Okay, so that has to be bigger than the pie plate. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but I do want it circular. And these are going to go over the edge. Now, if you have a metal spatula, that's better. All I have is this plastic one here right now. I'm going to flip that in half and in half again. So I've got, it is in a quarter. I'm going to put the center, the point in the center of the pan. Then I can open that up. And there you go. Got your pie crust in the pie plate. I can shift it over a little bit if it's okay. There. So it looks like I have a little extra hanging off over here. Oops, there goes my timer. And I'm going to add some in this little spot. It doesn't stick very well. You can just get a little put a little water on there and make it stick. So I can patch up a little spot. All right. Now I can put my pie filling in, and then I would put my top on. But before I put my pie filling in, I'm going to roll out my top, because if the filling sits in there, it'll get soggy, and I don't want the bottom of my crust to get soggy. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to roll out the top crust before I put the filling in. Now I have these bags of filling. You might have noticed them sitting here. I make those in advance. So like when the apricots are in season, or apricots, however you say it, I will make my pie filling. I'll cut up my apricots, add my sugar and spices, and then I'll put it in the freezer. And it's all measured out. So then I just have to get a bag out of the freezer and dump it in my pie filling. I do need to thaw it first, because if you put frozen pie filling in here, it would take forever to bake it. It takes 50 minutes to an hour, usually more like an hour at 400 degrees to bake these. Just keep working away at it till you get a circle. You just keep coming from the center out. You eventually get something that's almost a circle. All right, then you can see if it's big enough by putting your pie plate on there. Okay, good enough. All right, so again, I'm going to flip that in half and then in quarters. Now I'm going to take a knife. A sharp knife would be better, but I could use that one. Could use a sharp knife. So I'm going to cut for some decoration. And make some slits. Okay, so now that's ready. So I've got my pie crust. Okay. I'm going to dump in my pie filling. This, okay. I made this one with tapioca instead of flour because I wanted to have some gluten-free pie crusts or pie fillings. My next crust that I'm going to make a gluten-free. We have a family member who is gluten-free in her diet, so you need something like cornstarch, flour, or tapioca to thicken the juice in your pie filling. So you don't want to have a runny pie. So that is your starch or your thickener. So flour works real easily. So does cornstarch, and tapioca does as well. All right, now I'm going to put the top on. Again, I've got my corner that I'm going to place right in the center. And then I'm going to flip that. And again. Okay, so then you see your design shows up. Now I'm going to take both of the crusts and I'm going to turn this under. I didn't cut anything off. I'm just folding it, going around and getting both of them together and folding them down inside the pan. If you are at a point where it was a little bit short, you can use a knife to make sure you get this folded over it. Get that top one folded over the bottom one. Okay, folding it over. So I've got my two pieces. Just turn the pan as you go. Okay, so now I want to finish the edge. There's different ways of doing this. You can take a fork and just go all the way around. I don't think that's very attractive. You can take your thumb and 2 fingers, take like this, and then push the crust in with this finger. So it makes a scalloped edge. You can also pinch it with just 2 fingers. The scalloped edge is sort of nice. And then it raises the crust up a bit, which might catch some of the juices. But often, I think this one's gonna have some juice might run over the edge. So I'm gonna put it on a pan in the oven. Okay, so that is all finished, and now I'm going to brush some milk on it, and then I'm going to sprinkle about a teaspoon of sugar on the top. So here's my milk. This just puts sort of a little nice glaze on your crust. Doesn't have to be on every little section, but I try to brush it all around. Okay, now I've got my sugar. I'm just going to take about 1 teaspoon, sprinkle that around. Makes the crust taste a little better with a little bit of sugar on it. Not that the crust tastes bad. Okay, now for the final, you have to put this on a pan. And the pan, I have these pans, they're old. They have a hole in them. You can just take a regular pan. It doesn't have to be round, it can be rectangle. Put your pie on the pan. This pan will catch any juice that drips off. And then you can take foil to just put it around the edge. I've got that in another video. This one, I'm just gonna put this little top on it. And in the oven it goes, 400 degrees for about 50 to 60 minutes.